Hi there guys, so you would have seen my post yesterday regarding this rocker shafts. Now just to explain, this sits on top of the head, bolts down on these 4 locations, and then you have these little sort of balls here. They are basically operated by the push rods, which is operated by the camshaft, which is tied up to the crankshaft. And as the push rods push on these, they push these down, so that pushes upwards, that pushes downwards, and then this pad here basically pushes on the top end of the valve and pushes it open and shut. But that's also where you put a feeler gauge to test the clearance, which basically determines how much gap there is between when it's cold and when it's hot. If the gap's too small, then it can cause the valve to be held open when it's up to temperature, and if it's too big, it will just make them very, very noisy when it's running, basically. Now, the reason why we've gone with this donor one is because, if I show you this prime example here, if I look quite close up and see if it will focus enough to show you. Let's see if we can do this. You might be able to, there we go. Just see on the edge there, look, that little lip that's, you've got like a very, very well detailed almost circle on that pad, and if I put my finger to it, that the dark line there is actually a ridge, which is where it's basically worn a lovely circle into it. It's the same on that one there, and to be honest with it, all of these ones on that shaft have got it, which basically means that no matter how hard you try to set a feeler gauges, you're never going to get that to be accurate, and therefore it's always going to sound a little bit tappety. However, this donor set, on the other hand, they've all got a little witness mark, which is absolutely fine. I did a Rolls-Royce and Bentley internship a few years back. I actually used, I think it was called an emery stone, and I actually refaced some of those. Not gonna lie, it wasn't something I got very, very perfected at, because I had a little opportunity window to have a go at it. But I have done it, and I do know you can do it. But basically, this little witness mark there, you would grind them back with the emery stone and leave a little witness mark, so that it basically just shows that it used to be there. And I'm going on the fact personally that there's a little witness mark there. You haven't got any, you can't feel any ridges, which means it's not too badly worn. The only one that's got anything even slight that looks like a circle is that one there, but even then I still can't feel any ridges when I rub my hand over it. So personally, I'm going with this one, and you'll notice I've just spent a little while cleaning it up, because all those there were covered in very dark, dirty oil, stained metal. I've just sat there with a bit of Scotch-Brite and this solvent that's now quite dirty, making it all as clean as I can, because obviously you've got a nice fresh engine. You do not want to be putting something dirty back in it, because it's otherwise a total waste of time to have done all the other effort to keep it all nice and clean, isn't it? So everything going back in this engine is being kept as sparkly clean as I can possibly get it to be. So you might, if you're doing one thing, you might as well do the rest of it, otherwise you're just wasting your time, quite frankly. So yeah, so that's tonight's job, and hopefully by the time I've done this bit here, I'm then going to give it a nice rinse down to make sure the solvent's off it, and possibly put a little bit of fresh oil on it, so all these rockers have got some oil sitting there before it's before the engine's ever turned over. Just means that there's something there for it to slip and slide on, rather than being bare metal to metal. So yeah, that's what we're doing tonight, and that's why I'm doing it. So yeah, right, I'm now going to be grabbing the sump plug out of the donor engine, because I cannot for the life of me work out what I did with the one that I took out of that sump that's gone on the car. So I'm going to take out the donor one, because that hasn't got any oil in it anyway, and we'll just stick a nice new washer on it, clean it up nicely as well, put it back in the sump, and I can then, when I put the rocker shaft on, I can then do the tappets. And the reason why I want to put oil in it first is because obviously you have the sump at the bottom here, which will be catching it, but the main concern for me at the moment is the fact of I don't want to be turning the engine over to do the valve clearances without any oil in the system at all. Especially obviously if you've got all the nicely cleaned up cam followers on the cam, I would rather have nice fresh oil that I've just poured on the head that will go straight down the push rod holes to the followers, to the camshaft, and work its way down like that. It just means that all the camshaft lobes will have some lubrication on them. Okay guys, so as you can see, the engine is now all complete. Rocker cover is now bolted on as well. I appreciate the rocker cover looks like absolute crap right now. It's merely a temporary fix. I've cleaned it all up nicely. I've obviously set the tappets. I've just put gaffer tape over there to stop any crap getting in through the valves. A little bit over the spark plug hole as well, because no plugs in at the minute. The idea is I've got a spare rocker cover in the cupboard. I'm going to completely clean that one up, paint it and all the rest of it, but for the purpose of getting it running and making sure everything's alright, this one should be fine. It's only got to look pretty on the inside for it to be okay, so happy days. Once it's off the stand, that rear mainsail, as you can see, isn't far enough in yet, but with it inside the stand, there ain't enough room to be able to do it, so I'm going to put it on, get up on the hoist, maybe put some old car inner tubes on the floor on a wheel or something, so I can get a bit more access and knock it in with a little hammer. So yeah, that's progress we made so far. Hopefully it's going to be in the car today, so I could potentially try and start it up. Right, so before we can put the engine back in, we also need to sort out the problem with the fork we had back in September going to Margate, which is the fact that now we've got a spacer in here that works wonderfully. If I take this cable out of the way, it will drop out like so. It doesn't stay solid in place because there's no way to actually secure it while it's up there, apart from weld it, and always see the fuel tanks directly above it. So in the car with the engine in there, it's a flipping death wish trying to do that. And trying to get a drill to it when you can only get to sort of that bit and lower is an absolute stupid pig. So what I'm going to do is, the plan at least, is I've just gone and bought myself a set of drill bits and some very, very small M6 bolts. And what I'm going to plan to do is put a couple of holes there and there, right at the bottom end where you can get to it. And what we're going to do is, hopefully at least, aim to put a couple of bolts there and there with, playing this going against the idea of vibration causing us any grief, some M6 spring washers, which I'll hopefully put on the back side so it's away from the pressure plate, and I'll also put a bit of Loctite, because what I'm going to do is drill the holes there and I'm going to tap a couple of threads in, because this is fairly thick metal, so I'm going to see if I can get away with doing that. So we're going to try a bit, we're going to try and drill and tap a thread into there, a couple of them, put a couple of very short M6 bolts in with spring wash and Loctite, and that should in theory mean that that has got two securing points at the lower end here that I can get to should the spacing need to be changed at any point, because obviously we put a brand new clutch friction and pressure plate in, so things might change, and the fact the flywheel's been very fractionally skimmed, so that might not actually be right now. So I'll go with this, basically a adjustable method I suppose you could call it, that enables me to change it later if I absolutely have to, but at least I'll know that this idea to secure it works. So yeah, right, let's start drilling joint. Okay guys, here we go. Let's get, there we go, it's focusing now, bonus. Right, so as you can see the bolt is through the fork itself. That's now fitted. I fitted a brand new release bearing because it came with the clutch kit. The other one was okay, but given it had been riding against pressure plate for 2,000 miles, I thought stuff putting that one back in, put a brand new one in with it, now everything's nice and fresh and all together at one stage. So yeah, quick clean over, and yeah, we're going to just put take the engine off the stand, put it on the hoist, push the rear mainsail a bit further on, put the flywheel on, clutch and assembly on, and stick it back in. We're getting there. Right, well, thanks to a bit of resery and hammers of bodgeriness, we got this seal back in properly. It was sitting literally at the very edge of the flywheel there, or the crankshaft rather. There we go, focus now. It was sitting right on the edge, and obviously the trouble with that is, if I get the old one to show you, the bolt, where the bolts go, is actually indented slightly. So what will happen is the flywheel will be rubbing against the seal the entire time. It will just burn the life out the seal. Haven't got anything big enough to actually push it in central, so I'm not even kidding when I say this. Where I'll just put it.
It's on the floor, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. So, of all things you could use, I've used an old push rod and just gone around the entire thing tapping it. It's the most controversial idea I've ever had. I'm certain few people are going to bash me for doing it, but hey, it's in there and it's intact still, so that's a bonus. And yeah, if we look at it like so, it's now sitting more or less flush with all the block and the sump, which now means we've got a good bit of gap there for the flywheel to go on there without fouling on it. So I think it's a bonus. Time to get the flywheel on. Well, as you can see, we're bloody well in again. It's been a right juggle to do, but we're in. Happy days. I've just done all the gearbox bolts up. The mounts this side have been done. I think I've just got to tighten up the 14mm bolts that go on the underside of there. Make sure it's nice and tight. But yeah, as you can see, just need to fit all the ancillaries, then we can try and fire it up. Happy days. Right, we're here. We're at that stage now. We're going to start putting the ancillaries on at some point. Probably not today because I think I've just run out of time now. But this post just turned up perfectly on time. I want to say big thanks to this ugly muggin. He's a bit of a brother, and he's come all the way down here yet again today to give me a hand. And without his help for the last 8 hours, I probably would have nearly killed myself at least twice. Because I'm not one to stand back and ask for help. I just sort of try and do it and nearly end up killing myself. But he's kind of stepped in a few times and said, should we try this instead? And at times I've been not stubborn enough to say, okay, well, maybe we should try it that way. But thank you, brother. You've done it.